The morning of February 9th, 1855, dawned cold and still across the county of Devon, England. A heavy snowfall the night before had left the landscape a pristine, untouched canvas. But as the villagers of Lympstone, Exmouth, and Topsham began to stir, they discovered something profoundly unsettling. Stretching across their snow-covered lanes, gardens, and rooftops was a single, unbroken line of hoof-like prints, not the broad splayed tracks of a cow, nor the delicate impressions of a deer. These were small, cloven, and impossibly precise, as if stamped by a single, unswerving entity. They appeared to belong to something unearthly. The initial shock quickly morphed into bewilderment as the extent of the phenomenon became clear. These prints weren't confined to a single village. They spanned over 100 miles, from the Exe estuary to the remote parishes of Totnes and Chudley. Across fields, through gardens, over walls, and even upon the snow-laden roofs of houses, the tracks continued, a seamless, single-file procession. Each impression measured about 4 inches long, 3 inches wide, with an average stride of 8 inches. And crucially, they all appeared in a perfectly linear progression, 1 foot directly in front of the other. The sheer scale and uniformity defied all conventional explanation. In the deeply religious, often superstitious climate of Victorian England, 100 miles of unexplained hoofprints could only mean one thing for many. Fear began to grip the community. Sermons were preached, prayers were offered. The notion of the devil himself walking the earth was not a distant allegory, but a terrifying, immediate possibility. These were not simply strange tracks in the snow. They were interpreted as a visitation, a dark omen. One local newspaper, the Western Times, captured the prevailing terror, detailing the public's distress and speculating on the malicious agency of some diabolical creature.
One account claims the astonishment of the inhabitants was by far exceeded by their dread. All were fully convinced that it was the devil who had paid them a visit. Not a child but knew the hoofmark of Satan, and not a woman but felt that the end of all things was at hand. They stood in clusters, half frozen, half frightened, and watched the footprints, expecting every moment to see the dark author of them appear.
News of the devil's footprints spread like wildfire, carried by local papers and then picked up by national publications eager for a sensational story. The accounts varied wildly, some exaggerating the phenomenon, others attempting to rationalize it. The lack of any discernible culprit or rational explanation only fueled the sensation. The incident became a topic of intense discussion in pubs, parlors, and even scientific circles, a compelling mystery that seemed to defy the burgeoning rationalism of the Victorian age. For a brief period, an entire region held its breath, wondering if the supernatural had truly walked among them.
What makes the devil's footprints such a potent story even today is not just the objective strangeness of the phenomenon, but how perfectly it tapped into the anxieties and belief systems of its time. In 1855, Britain was at a crossroads. Industrialization was rapidly changing society, challenging traditional rural life, while scientific advancement was beginning to chip away at older religious orthodoxies. Yet deeply ingrained religious beliefs and a fear of the unknown remained incredibly strong. When something truly inexplicable occurred, like these footprints, the default explanation for many wasn't a complex scientific theory, but a simple, terrifying one: the devil. This wasn't just about fear of the supernatural. It was a way of making sense of a world that was becoming increasingly complex and unsettling.
Amidst the panic and pious pronouncements, more pragmatic minds began to seek rational explanations. Local naturalists, clergy, and even military personnel from nearby barracks engaged in what was arguably one of the earliest instances of crowdsourced scientific inquiry. They meticulously measured the tracks, observed their patterns, and considered various natural phenomena. They understood that a natural explanation, however improbable, was more likely than a supernatural one. But the very nature of the prints, their continuous single-file line, their disregard for obstacles, baffled even the most astute observers.
Among the first proposed solutions, and one that gained some traction, was the idea of an escaped balloon. Specifically, it was suggested that a hot air balloon, recently launched from a nearby dockyard, might have drifted over the county, dragging its mooring ropes or grapnel hooks across the snow. The theory posited that the continuous dragging of a single object could explain the linear progression of marks. However, this theory struggled to account for the precise cloven shape of the prints, or how a single drag mark could consistently leave distinct separated impressions across such varied terrain, including over walls and onto rooftops. It was a neat idea, but the physical evidence didn't quite align. Other theories centered on animals. Badgers were considered, but their tracks didn't match the distinctive cloven shape. Mice or rats were proposed, their tiny feet creating single-file patterns through deep snow, but again, the size and form were inconsistent. One more exotic suggestion was a kangaroo, as a private menagerie was known to exist nearby. Kangaroos do move in a unique gait, often creating a series of prints that could appear single-file. Yet a kangaroo escaping and traveling over 100 miles in deep snow, leaving perfectly cloven marks, seemed highly improbable, especially for an animal not adapted to such conditions. The sheer consistency and widespread nature of the prints continued to confound.
The Devil's Footprints of Devon remain a staple in popular culture's collection of unexplained mysteries, and that's largely because the most commonly accepted scientific explanation lacks the dramatic flair of a demonic visitation. It's a testament to the human desire for a compelling narrative. Later retellings often emphasize the devil angle, or selectively highlight the most baffling aspects, while downplaying the more mundane, if still ingenious solutions. This isn't necessarily deliberate deception. It's the natural evolution of a good story. We prefer the unexplained, the supernatural, because it challenges our ordered world, while a natural explanation, no matter how elegant, often feels like a letdown.
The most widely accepted scientific explanation today, though not universally proven, points to a phenomenon involving supercooled ice. Imagine an existing thin layer of ice, perhaps formed by a partial thaw and refreeze cycle, then covered by a fresh, light layer of snow. As temperatures fluctuate, the top layer of snow and a thin crust of ice might lift and fall, or thaw and refreeze in a specific pattern, creating impressions that look remarkably like a continuous single-file track. Some theories refine this to involve runoff from pipes or roof edges, creating lines of melting ice that, when recoated with snow, could mimic hoofprints. This ice theory best explains the linear path, the consistent spacing, and the ability to traverse obstacles, as it pre-exists the fresh snowfall. Over time, The immediate terror of the devil's footprints faded, replaced by curiosity and eventually by legend. The incident became a local folktale, whispered by generations and embellished with each retelling. It sits alongside other famous unexplained events, a testament to a specific moment in history when the scientific method was still finding its footing against deeply ingrained supernatural beliefs. It's a compelling narrative, not just for the mystery itself, but for what it reveals about the human condition, our yearning for the spectacular, our fear of the unknown, and our struggle to reconcile the rational with the seemingly impossible. The Devil's Footprints of Devon may not have a definitive, universally accepted solution, but that almost misses the point. The footprints themselves are gone, melted away by the returning sun. What remains is the indelible mark they left on human imagination. This isn't just a cold case from the past. It's a mirror reflecting how societies grapple with the limits of their understanding, how collective fear can shape perception, and how even the most perplexing mysteries eventually become part of the human story, evolving from terrifying omen to curious anecdote, then to an academic puzzle. It's a story not of a devil, but of us.